Hi guys, I'm Michael Newrock and welcome to today's market analysis review, the 24th of August 2017. Hope you've been enjoying this new format as we've been transitioning from weekly webinars to daily reviews. Overall, the support has been fantastic, so thanks very much for that. Let's get straight in. Now, if this is your first time, it's great to have a bit of continuity. So on some days I might go into more detail, and other days I may summarize depending on what's happening that day. And each video is a follow-up to the day before. So here we are on the Aussie. I'll come back to that in a moment. We'll just start with gold. That's XAU USD. Now this is on the 15-minute time frame. Now, yesterday we drilled down to this shorter time frame and took a trade. It's done quite well. It's part one came in at about 350 pips, and part two, or the second part of the trade, was around 200 pips. So taken out at this point here. It's overall a upward market. 4 out of the 6 high time frames are pointing up. So I usually leave my trades parked on the 4 hour. Let's have a look at that. And you can see there's been a new moving average crossover. The trend follower hasn't changed green as yet, but if it were to, then it would be a new valid trend trade to the upside. RSI is already above the 50 line, MACD is above the 0 line, and a move upwards will see it swing as well, and stochastic is just about to cross over. So, overall I'm bullish on gold at this point. Well, let's look at it hypothetically from, say, this point, 1,290 to the high of 1,000, just over 1,300. So there's $10 in the price of gold, which represents 1,000 pips with 100 pips per dollar. So there could be an opportunity there to take the trade as a 4 hour, maybe as a 1 hour. That may have already occurred. Let's have a look. Well, it's in the movement of a upward move, but it has been, seeing that consolidation. So maybe, another 15-minute where that original trade was taken yesterday, and just wait for the correction. So here, let's see, it may be finding support at this stage now. Let's see if it turns back. If it does, then it may be another 15-minute trade opportunity to the upside. I wouldn't be looking at any shorts right now because, again, 4 out of 6 makes it a conservative upward market. All right, let's move on to euro. The euro, I also took a trade yesterday, and I took it on the 15-minute as well. So if I am going to go to the shorter time frames, 1 hour is pretty good, and certainly extremely popular. My favorite of the really short time frames is the 15-minute. Provides stability and some nice moves as well. So obviously not always the case. It was a bit of a roller coaster before then, but at that time, it posed a good opportunity. I think it was conservative. It was fluctuating between a conservative upward move and bidirectional, which is what it is now. So that could easily change, and I've got pips locked in. So from this original buy, we've got about 20 pips on the first part and about 5 pips in the second part. So certainly for this trade, it would be nice to see a further upward move. It's a little difficult to tell on this time frame, in fact, what direction it is going, other than the recent past, which is upward. So let's look at the 4 hour. Now remember, if you're trading on one chart with the EA, you need to change it back to that chart for it to manage the trade. But from this point, I want to make a point here. I took the trade on the 15-minute. It worked out successful. Now I can either continue to trade it as a 15-minute and maybe get spooked out, because if you recall, the 15-minute is looking, let's just flick right back real quick. It's moving to the down side. It's a little correction since then, but it's not as defined as which way is it going to go. So the reason why I would hold these trades right now is because I'm now trading it as a 4 hour. Now again, to have it managed automatically, I need to flick it back to the 15-minute. But from a human perspective, I'm trading it as a 4 hour trade now. Crossover has occurred. Price is nicely supported above the fast moving average. That's always really good to see as well. You want it to see if it does correct, to at least bounce off the fast moving average, which is what it's done here. So there's plenty of pips in this trade still to be had, 20 to 25 pips for these recent highs, about 40 pips to this recent high, and just over 100 pips to the ultimate high for this time frame. Of course, it could even break that. So the 4-hour MACD is showing currently is red. Now that could really easily change to green, which will change this to green, which puts it in a conservative upward move again. So it brings in more bulls to the market to continue this upward move. So I'm still bullish on the euro. Pound. Pound, as I've mentioned, is a little bit weaker than the euro, and it looked like a possibility here, albeit flat. And no surprise that it failed. So we'll have to wait for another opportunity. It is in a downward market, but I'm not personally looking for downward trades at this stage. Daily, you can see it has been drifting nicely to the downside, and but weekly, you see, here's the thing: weekly, it has looked like it's failed beyond the slow moving average, has busted through the fast, then the slow, but it's still in play. So the MACD is still above the zero line, and the week has still got some time left in it, another 2 days. So for my mind, I'd be on the sidelines for any short trade right now. I would reassess it if there was a correction and then a move back to the downside. But otherwise, I would be more interested in looking at possible long trades. But for now, I'm not in that trade. Euro pound still continues its bullish move, and therefore, 5 out of 6, I'm not looking at anything other than opportunities to get in after a correction. It's pretty obvious at this point. It's already, gone to considerable heights. So either wait for a possible downturn and look to that side, or look for a correction and then a swing back up. See how high it is on the MACD. So if it drifts down to around the 91.5 mark, you more than likely see that MACD still above the zero line, but much closer to that zero line. Then a swing up could see some nice pips for an upward trade, because traders have seen this recent high. So when something corrects, when price corrects, they're always looking as the recent high as their closest point of reference, even if they're totally oblivious to weekly or monthly trends or whatever. They're looking at recent highs on long trades. So that could be a good opportunity to go long again after a correction and a valid swing trade. Pound Swiss, pretty much the opposite of the euro pound. So same thing applies. Look for a correction, then an opportunity to short it, but reassess at that particular time. Obviously, these thoughts that I'm going through with each pair have a really short expiry date. Trading changes pretty quickly. So Aussie. I've been saying the last 2 reviews this week that the Aussie is the stronger of the pair between the Aussie and the Kiwi. Kiwi has experienced some decent falls, but the Aussie Kiwi is upward and strongly upward at that. So, if the Kiwi moves upward, finds some support and starts moving up, because it has already reached some considerable lows, then that's going to have an effect on the Aussie Kiwi, particularly if the Aussie isn't moving up. And once you see the Aussie Kiwi potentially move to a downward, or at the very least a bidirectional market, then there might be an argument to sell the Aussie. The MACD is just below the zero line. If you see a nice swing down, that's all that it will take. So you want to see a nice swing down with the price below the fast-moving average here, and there's some good opportunities for some pips to the downside, around 80 pips, and risk would probably only be around 25 pips thereabouts. So possibly the Aussie, of course, if it continues going up and there's a crossover here and that this changes to bidirectional at the very least, then all bets are off for any short trade. It could be, going back higher, but at this stage, it's just a case of wait and see. Okay, so Kiwi, again, not in the market right now for any shorts unless there was a correction. Then I could reassess. And very very similar to the Aussie, could swing back up, and there could be a nice long there. So just a case of watch and see, and pay particular attention to the Aussie Kiwi. Okay, so moving right along, we've got the dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is still in the throes of downward moves, but these move downs, these swing downs, are getting smaller and smaller. And there's with this last one, we had a pretty decent correction. Again, finding itself in the slow moving average, another swing down, but not very strong. So it really is a tricky one to call at this stage. But I'm looking for a false swing down and then a move back up with a new trend trade. Then that would be something that might be worth considering if it's obviously at least in a bidirectional market. So, but at this stage, no real trade that I'm interested in. Dollar Swiss, it moved a little bit to the upside, but then corrected immediately after that. If you had locked in some profits and some pips, you would have made a little bit there. But at this stage, if there's a crossover to the downside and the trend follower changes red, then it's looking to the downside. But if price moves up, MACD is still above the zero line. RSI won't take much to get it over the 50. And stochastic is already above, which doesn't really matter for a swing, but it's nice to see. So swing up could see further moves up, and that's probably the way that I would be looking at more than a short trade right now. Okay, dollar yen. The yens haven't been performing. It looks as though they were back on this signal, and there were some good opportunities with a good risk reward, but wasn't to be. Now it's changing over to a downward trend trade, but I'm not really interested at this stage. It could meander up and down for some time, and I'm more interested in long trades. But we shall see with that one. At this stage, I'm on the sidelines. Okay, Euro Yen. Euro Yen is one that I picked out on the first day or earlier this week. And hasn't gone anywhere. It's just bubbled along and actually didn't give a valid trend trade as it was. It's given a swing trade, a really, really weak swing trade. But I took this just prior to this daily market review video. So, I don't hold a lot of confidence. It may go well. I took it more for educational purposes. I would have really preferred for the price to be way up here, say above these highs. Then it's more of a case of panic setting, and it's the highs have broken, and there's more likelihood of it moving up. Just a few more pips, and it's broken these highs, and then hello Dolly, it's 130 pips to this high, and that's what many traders would be eyeing off, this high right here. So it's fluctuated. I remain bullish on this, particularly with the strength of the euro. If you recall early in this video, euro is continuing strength. So that's my say on that particular one. Pound yen, it hasn't been going anywhere. Let's get rid of this. This was a trade that I didn't bother with. I'm on the sidelines here, so no trade in my mind here. Aussie yen, if there's a big move to the upside on the Aussie, then it might be interesting, but I'd have to reassess. At this stage, it's too the price is just trading within a range too much for my liking. Kiwi yen came more of a swing down here, so if there is support for the Kiwi, then this might be one that would be worth looking at to the upside. Right now, I'm on the sidelines. There's no trade here. These sell trend and swings actually turned out pretty nicely, but The good thing about them is there would have been a tiny risk. So I would have said at the time that they would have been fairly way down already. So, risky, but turned out in this case. So if you took that one, good going. CAD yen, two on the fence for this one, meandering along. But overall, 4 out of 6 are upward. It's just not one that I'm overly interested in. But, it could be a worthwhile with a tiny, relatively speaking, risk for really, really good reward. So, if the CAD moves, then it could be a good way to buy into the CAD. Swiss CAD on the sidelines with this again, just sort of eyeing off. Look at this consolidation for this period, and it's not the type of trades that I really want to get into because you are taking, it is a bit of a coin toss. All right, Euro Aussie. Earlier in the week, I said, I was quite excited about the Euro Aussie, and it's actually come off nicely. The trend trade worked well. You see this little spike down here? This is what you got to watch out for. And if you had given yourself a little bit of room to move just below the slow moving average, is what I always say, you would have survived that. But if not, you might have lucked out. This swing, though, however, which happened on the same bar, so false breakdown, closed higher, gave a swing, and it's moved on nicely since. So let's have a look. So around 70 pips and a high of about just under 100 pips, and I remain bullish on Euro Aussie. Euro is stronger right now. If Aussie falls, then it's going to benefit the Euro Aussie, even if the Euro just stays where it is. So there's quite a bit of room still in this trade. So if you caught this one, good for you. There's another 70 odd pips up to the high, and it's 5 out of 6. It's looking very nice, and a new upward move will change the MACD to a green, which of course will change the H4 swing display to a green, giving it 6 out of 6 royal flush. Hang in there. Okay, pound Aussie. I mentioned this was the weaker of the two, and it has been. So at this stage, I'm in no trade. If I see the pound move, then I'll reassess this pair to see if there's an opportunity, particularly if the Aussie falls. Euro Kiwi, this has been, the pick of them from this week. We were eyeing off this high, which was about 130 pips, and it's just smashed through that to about a high of about 280 pips, sitting currently at around 230 pips. Really, really nice. Didn't experience any real downward moves. This candle here moved down a bit and then corrected, and it's just been a beautiful trade. So if you took this trade, I'm pretty sure a couple of you did in the chat room, then well done. It's a really nice trade and moved really well. So hang in there. There could be some more movement on this trade to come. If we look at the daily, it's all busted through previous highs. And if we look at the weekly, it's looking really nice as well with a lot of movement. So, lock in your pips, but whatever you do, hang on because there could be more coming. Okay, so let's move on. Pound Kiwi. This is one that I liked yesterday. It's gone. It was actually at 4 out of 6. It's gone back to 3 out of 6 bidirectional, but still, not too bad. It hit about 73 pips, so it's probably likely that you've locked in some pips and you might be out of the game now because the move down has been fairly big. If you had set your targets higher, then you're still in the game. I'm unsure of what's happening with this one. It's looking like a nice strong move. We've had a bit of a correction, so I would think that we will see another move up. So I'm retaining my bullish opinion on the pound Kiwi. MACD's above the zero line, so swing up, we'll see another nice move. If we get a nice swing now at this stage, then price could push up to this high here, so a fair bit more room to move. So if you're in that trade and you've locked in some profits, well done. Okay, Aussie CAD still moving down. I'm on the sidelines on this one though. New Zealand CAD, if you caught this one, well done. We had some nice drops on this, but not the time to be chasing pips now to the downside. EuroCAD, I'm not feeling fantastic about any of these CAD crosses, and Pound CAD I'm on the fence on as well. So nothing there in my mind. So things continue. We've got some good crosses on the what do we got? Potentially still Pound Kiwi, Euro Kiwi's done fantastically well. Nothing on the Aussie. Euro Aussie's done really well. Out of the yen crosses right now, there could be a nice swing up, and that could be good. So this next bar, in fact, it's just changed to green. If we get a nice swing up, then I retain my bullish opinion for the dollar Swiss right now. Dollar CAD, we'll wait and see what happens with that. I'm not in the short. Aussie, possibly if we get a move down, and that would be helpful to the other trades that I'm looking at right now as well. But too hard to tell. If we get a swing down, maybe an opportunity there. What else? Nothing there. If you're in the euro, then stick to it. And if you're in gold, then let's see, wait and see. We want to see a move up before that's confirmed at this stage, but certainly has been making some small moves upward in an upward environment. But euro, if it continues up, then euro Aussie, euro Kiwi, euro yen. They're the good ones, and of course the euro if you're not already in that. But watch, don't chase after pips. If the trades have already been happening for some time, then better to wait for a correction. So till next time, good trading, live well, and I'll see you soon.